I just found out I'm in a high-risk flood zone, and I don't understand why. I'll tell you why. It's because your base flood elevation may have recently changed. But how do you change that? That's exactly what we're going to show you in today's video. So let's get started. But before we do, make sure to share, subscribe, and like the channel below. Hi, I'm Chris, the flood insurance guru, and more than a decade ago, I bought a property in a high-risk flood zone like this. But guess what? There was no water around. My flood zone had recently changed because they had determined my base flood elevation had changed. And that cost me thousands of dollars in property value because I did not know the base flood elevation. So today we're talking about using this base flood elevation to change your flood zone. Base flood elevation, like we talked about in some of our other videos, and you can click on the corner to get a good understanding here, it's basically the level that FEMA thinks flooding could come to. And they use this level to set their flood zones. Well, these things can change from time to time with flood insurance study reports, which is exactly what happened to me when I went to buy a house. It changed just a couple of months before, and it had finally hit the system when I was about to close on my house. Now, thankfully, I had an elevation certificate that showed the different elevations of my home, and it showed that my home was above the base flood elevation. And I was able to use this to go through a process called letter of map amendment, and I changed my flood zone. It took me about 60 days to get it done, and I did have to have flood insurance while that was happening. And once I get this change, though, it had a big impact on my property value. In fact, this property sold for more than $100,000 than it should have a few years later because of the real estate market and the flood zone change combined. So this is the kind of impact potentially a flood zone change could have on you. Now, in changing this though, what should you be looking for your base flood elevation? Typically, what we recommend that your lowest adjacent grade on your property is 1 to 2 feet above your base flood elevation. Now, if you're less than that, it doesn't mean it won't get approved. It just means the higher above you are, the more likely you are to get this changed. The other thing you want to make sure of too is that your property is not located in a floodway like this. You can click on the corner of this video here to get a good understanding of what a floodway is. This is basically the fringe, the overflow area of that water source. If you're in a floodway, it can be very hard to get your flood zone changed. Usually, the floodplain manager has to sign off on it and inspect it, which could cost you more money. Now, if you're doing this flood zone change with your base flood elevation, look, you can go through and do it on your own. We can help you with it. There's a lot of companies out there that could help you with it. So what kind of cost would that generally cost? What we see on average is probably around $1,000 to change your flood zone. Now, we see some companies that will charge you based on your premium, which really isn't fair because they're not doing any more work because you're paying more for flood insurance. So you want to be cautious with that. Go ahead and get one. You can even order one through our website here if you're looking at changing your flood zone. Because even if you can't get your flood zone changed, remember, the higher this elevation is with your lowest adjacent grade, the more it could lower your flood insurance costs. So this is how you use your base flood elevation to change your flood zone like I did. I hope this video has brought value to you. Leave us a comment below. Let us know if you're having trouble changing your flood zone or if you want to look at changing your flood zone. Maybe you haven't been successful in it. Maybe there's some other ways you can still minimize costs. Let us know. I want to say thank you for watching today's video. Make sure to share, subscribe, and like the channel below. I look forward to helping you in our next video. Thank you.